Hello everybody! Today we are going to do one last lesson on sketch relations. After this lesson, you will be ready to move on and begin designing your own parts just like an engineer would do. To learn about sketch relations, we are going to create a die. Dice are the best example of complex sketch relations because each side has different symmetrical number of extrusion cuts. So what this means is, do you know how a dice has 6 different sides and each one has a different number? Those are symmetrical cuts if you look at them. So for example, if you look at this number side with the 6 on them, there's 6 dots that are equally spaced from each other. So first, let's start off by creating a sketch on the top plane. So we've done this before. So first we're going to start off by going to the top plane. We're going to right click, view normal to. Then we're just going to press sketch, and then we can select our plane and we're good to go. So now we are going to start by explaining what I'm going to explain in this tutorial. In this tutorial we will use construction lines, extrusions, the dimension tool, and sketching using the rectangle and circle tools. In addition, we will learn some new topics, including sketch relation tools. There are more than 15 types of sketch relation tools, but today we are going to focus on the 7 most important ones. If you can use these 7 sketch relations, then you can efficiently make any part that you want to. These sketch relations include coincident, midpoint, symmetric, equal, horizontal, and vertical. These can be found all at the top over here. So you'll see there's coincident, we have concentric, parallel. These are all different types of tools. Now, like I said, there are more than 7 up here, but we are only going to focus on the 7 most important ones. So to get started, I'll explain what each of them do. So basically, the coincident tool is just like we've seen before, where we start at any point of the object and then we can make sure that it snaps to a certain place. Then, the rest of them I'll continue on and explain as we go throughout this tutorial. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off by creating our die. So in order to create a dice is equal cube. So it's a very equal cube. So we'll start off by from the center. We're going to use our center point rectangle. Now please note that this tutorial will go faster than other tutorials have. So if you ever get stuck or find yourself needing help in anything, please feel free to look at the previous tutorials and see if those can help you. So right now we're just going to make our square, and then we're going to make it equal. So the specific type of die that we're making today, we're going to make it 0.5 inches by 0.5 inches by 0.5 inches. As you can see, it will get quite a bit smaller. So now we're just going to zoom in. Perfect. So now that we have our square, now we need to make our extrusion. So to extrude it, we're going to go just to the extrude button, and we're going to make it 0.5 inches as well, so it's a perfect cube. And we're just going to press OK. And now, as you'll notice, there's different sides to the cube, or also the die. So first, we're going to start off by making our first hole. So our first hole is going to be for the first side of the die. So this will be just one circle. So we'll have our one circle. I'm going to actually put it right over here. I'm not going to go right to the middle, just to show you some ways that you can make it go to the center. So for the center, there are a few types of ways that we can do this. We can either just draw a circle and then pull it to the center and wait until it lights up. Or what we can do is we can go and we can actually use one of these sketch relations. So for this specific sketch relation, we're going to use the concentric one. So if you click the concentric button, then you select the dot in the middle of the circle, and then the circle right there in the middle of the square, it'll go right to the center. That's a helpful way if you ever need help with that and you're not going directly to the center, but you can use that for any specific point. So to make sure that we're directly in the center, we're going to actually use some construction lines. So does anyone remember how to use the construction lines? If you don't, that's okay. We're going to go right over here, and you'll see that the construction lines are right there. Or you could also press the keyboard shortcut known as Q. So remember, when we're making construction lines, we want to go right from the center. So we'll go to where that point is, then we'll go down right to there. And then we'll be able to make our construction lines. So that's very simple. So to make the construction lines, we're going to press the line tool and the construction line button. Make sure you have both of those pressed because otherwise they won't work. So as I said before, we're going to go down to here, then we're going to go escape, and then we're going to draw another one. So we're going to have to click the construction line and the line tool once again. So from there to there. And then as you can see, we're directly in the center of that. So this one's perfect. The only thing that's left is we're going to have to dimension out our circle. So for each of these circles, I'm going to be very careful and make each of them 0.025 inches on all sides, regardless of the size of the specific one. So now we have that over there, and then we're actually going to change it. So this does look a little small, so I will make this one 0.1 inches. And then from there, we can extrude it. So this time we're not going to extrude it outward. Instead, we're going to do an extruded cut. So this is just like we did in previous tutorials. Now I'm going to make this one 0.025 inches in depth. Now save. And this looks like a good amount. Not too much, not too little. But what do you notice here? Is that cut out or is that an extension? That's an extension, right? So you'll see that what we're going to do is we don't want that. We want it to be cut out so it's like a normal dice so you can roll it. So I'm going to go, just to show you how to do it, I'm going to press the space bar to deselect. Then I'm just going to press Control Z to undo what we just did. This way it'll go right back to what we had before. And then I'm going to press Sketch and then select where we were before. So I'll select our sketch, double click, and then we'll go back and we'll redo it. So remember, we want remove this time. Then we'll stick our 0.025 inches. Perfect. Now let's see if that looks good. And that looks good. It's starting to look like a dice now. Perfect. So now we're going to move on to the other side. So to do this, I'm going to just use my arrow keys and then move on. So you'll notice that from the number 1, that if you flip a dice over, then this side that we have is actually going to be a number 5. I actually want to start with the number 2, so we're going to flip it over to the other side because I want to make sure that we start and do each one number by number in order. So to start off, we're going to do with the number 2 on this side. So the number 2 is going to be very similar to the number 1. So to do the number 2, we're going to go Sketch, we're going to select our face, and then we're going to go, we want our circles. We're just going to draw 2 circles, doesn't matter how big they are. 2 circles, that's good right there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to deselect that, and then we're going to draw our construction lines once again. So to draw our construction lines, we know to go to the center, go down, make sure they're straight, go to the other side, and then press Escape. Go to the other center, make sure to select the construction lines and the line tool. Go to the center, make sure it's straight horizontally, and then there's our construction lines. So now what we're going to do is we're going to dimension everything. So in order to dimension it, remember how we said we're going to make each of these holes 0.1 inches in diameter. So we're going to stick to that and make sure they're the same, 0.1 inches in diameter. You'll notice that this one goes off of the dice. That's just because of the way I drew it, and it's not a big deal. We're going to change that right now. So now we're going to dimension it so that way they're equal on each side. So to make sure they're equal on each side, we're going to select that line and that line, and we're going to make sure that it is 0.15 inches from the top. Then we're going to do the same thing from this side. We're going to make sure it's 0.15 inches from the right, and then you'll notice how this is perfectly symmetric with this one once we do it. So now we're going to go from there to there, 0.15 inches, and then we're going to do 0.15 inches. Perfect. Now you'll notice that it's starting to look more like a dice. So now we're going to go over here to extrude, and then remember, we're going to switch it from add to remove, and then we're going to do 0.025 inches in depth. Then we're going to press the check mark, and there we have it. We have our number 2 side done. Now we're going to move on. So we already did our number 1 side on the one side, and now we did our number 2. So if we look at a dice and the net drawing of a dice, we would do 1, 2, and then on the other side it's going to be a 6. So now we're going to work on the 6 over here. So I'm going to move it over, and then we'll start on the 6. To do the number 6 side, we're going to do the same thing, except this time we're going to use a different linear relation sketch tool. So to do this, we're going to do sketch, select the plane that we're working on, and then we're going to go to our circle tool. This time we're only going to draw one circle, and I'll show you why we're going to do that in a second. Now we're going to draw our construction lines. So we're going to go right to the center, down to the bottom of the center, press escape, then we're going to get our construction lines once again, go to the center on the left, to the center of the right, and make sure that they're equal horizontally. Then we're going to press escape, and now we're going to work on our circles. So our circles, first we're going to dimension, so that way they are the same 0.1 inches in diameter that we've had. And then we're going to go and dimension it, so that way we are 0.15 inches from the right hand side, and then 0.15 inches from the bottom of this first quadrant. Perfect. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we are going to multiply this over here. So to do this, we're going to put this circle on the other side in the exact same location as it is over here. This is going to help us because then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it, and we're going to have another circle here and another circle here on both sides to make 6 total circles. To do this, it's very simple. We are going to use the mirroring tool over here. So you'll see mirroring tool, there isn't a keyboard shortcut for this, however you can click it right up here. So just select the mirroring tool, and then you're going to select a line to mirror. So in this case, you're going to use the construction line that divides this quadrant from this quadrant. So select that, and then you're going to select the shape. So then you just select the circle, and then you'll notice that it goes right on the other side. Then just click yes, then you're going to click back on the sketch, and then you should be good to go. Now just to double check and make sure that it's perfect, we're going to dimension it. So we don't need to dimension the circle because we can tell that this is the same size as this circle. But I want to dimension the width and length of it. So to do this, we can see it's exactly 0.15, and then it's exactly 1.5 on this side. Yes, it is. Perfect. Now we're going to use the linear sketch pattern tool to make multiple circles. So to do this, we're going to make sure that this and this are equal. And then this one and this one, the distance is equal, so this should be about 0.15 from each other on both sides. So to do this, we're going to go and we're going to use the linear pattern tool. So as you see, there's different types of patterns. There's a linear pattern tool, a circular pattern tool, and a transform tool. So select the linear pattern tool, and then we're going to select the objects that we want to multiply. So to do this, I'm going to zoom out a little. And you'll see there's an arrow here and an arrow here. Now this is automatically set so that way it multiplies 3 times out. So you'll notice that there's 1, 2, and 3 times that pattern. So instead we're going to switch it out here, because do you notice that there's nothing here because it says 1 times. So we're going to switch the 3 times. We're going to make it 1 times there because we don't want it to go out that side. And we're going to change this to 3 times. And then you'll notice that there's 3 total. Now what we want to do is we're going to change it. So I'm going to select this arrow over here, and I'm going to click and drag all the way to the top because I want to make sure that they're all equal. So as you see, I don't know if they're exactly equal over here, but I can make sure that they're there. So right now they look pretty equal to me, pretty close, because I can see 1.51. Or sorry, 0.151. So I'm going to switch it here, and then I'm going to try and get as close as I can. So I'm not sure if I can get exactly 0.15 to show you, but this is as close as I can get. So I'm going to just select that, and then I'm just going to say OK, and I'm going to switch it to 0.15. This way now we know they're exactly equal. So then you're just going to press the escape button to get out of it, and then you'll notice how it's gone. So just to show you how to do that one more time, because I know that can be a little tricky, we're going to select the linear pattern tool, then you're going to press this, and then we're going to switch the 3 times to 1 times, and then we're going to switch the 1 times to 3 times. And then from there, we're just going to lower the distance, bring it up to there, and then change the distance in between them to 0.15. Perfect, just like that. So as you can see, that wasn't too difficult. Now we're just going to press enter, and then we should be good to go. Perfect. So now you see that there's 3 total, and then if we even want to check them, we can even check from here to here because we don't see a dimension, which is totally fine. And I'm pretty sure they'll be the exact same, so yep, exactly 0.15. So that means we did it right. Awesome. So now we're just going to do the same thing that we did before, and we're just going to simply extrude, and then we're going to change from add to remove once again, and then we're going to change to 0.025, and then press check. Perfect. Now obviously there are different ways that you can do these different patterns, and there's simpler ways to do it, but I want to make sure that I can show you the different types of tools and sketch relations that you can use in Onshape, because it's really important that you know them, because sometimes they can be handy, and you'll notice that as you continue doing different parts, especially in the next assignment when you're on your own, that these are definitely handy tricks. So now we're going to move on to the other side. Now that when we look on a dice and we see that we've already done the 1, 2, and 6, the next number is the number 5. So I'm going to rotate our dice over, and then I'm just going to zoom out and then zoom back in so that we have a better view. So as you can see, this is our next blank side. So this is going to be a number 5. So to do number 5, we're going to continue with the same way that we've been doing it. So we're going to press sketch, we're going to select the part. I'm just going to zoom out so I can get it more in the center. And I'm actually going to use the panning feature that I showed in the last video to fix it. Perfect. Now we're going to do, we already have selected our sketch, so now we're going to do construction lines. So construction line and line tool, we're going to find the center, go up, down, make sure they're even, then press escape, go to the next one, we select our line tool and our construction lines tool, select, escape button, and then we have our construction lines. So the number 5 is a little different. So to do the number 5, we're going to start off by having our hole in the center. So every dice has a hole in the center with the number 5. So this hole is going to be the same 0.1 inches as the rest of them. But to start off, I'm going to actually draw one more hole over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension them. So we're going to select dimension, then we'll do 0.1 inches in diameter, and then I'm actually going to leave this one the way it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a different tool. So obviously you could do the same thing and mirror this object to this side, mirror to this side, and then mirror this one to this side. But I'm going to actually show you how to do it a different way, because I want you to know every single way that you can do different things in Onshape. So this time we're going to use the circular pattern tool. So we use the linear pattern tool to create the number 6, but let's use the circular pattern tool to create the number 5. So to do this, we're going to select the object, and then you'll notice how it automatically has 3 of them. So to do this, we actually want to have 4 total. So I'm going to change it to the number 4, and then you'll see that there's a 4 there. So to make this simpler, I'm actually going to bring this inward, and then if we bring it right to the center, then you'll see that it has basically everything. Now you will notice that everything's not perfect because I haven't dimensioned them, but this is basically how you use this type of tool. So I'm actually just going to escape and not even save this because I want to show you to dimension it first. So then you're going to go here, here, we're going to do the same 0.15, then we're going to do the same 0.15, perfect. And now we're going to escape out of this, and then we're going to go back to the circular pattern tool. And then the circular pattern tool, we're going to do the same exact thing as before. So I'm just going to do that really quick. So just to remind you that to change it to the 4 times. Then I'm going to zoom out, bring everything inward, right to the center, and then it should be good to go. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to press enter, and then save. And then I'm just going to go back to the sketch, double click on it, and then just to make sure everything looks right, because it does, I can just tell by looking at it, we should be good to go. The only thing that I'm going to do is you'll notice how this is the correct dimension, but these aren't. Now to fix this, it's a very simple fix. So to do that, we're going to use a different type of tool. This one's going to be a part of the sketch dimensions tool. So we're going to use the equal tool. So you're going to click equal, and then select this first circle. Then if you select all of them, they're just going to all change right there. Now usually you'll have to select every single circle, however, because this is 4 times of this one, so basically these 3 are a copy of this circle. So if once you change one circle, every single circle changes, which is kind of nice in this example. So that's basically how you use both of those. So now we're just going to go to the extrude part. We're going to do the same thing we've done before, go to remove, and then change the depth to 0.025, just like we have before. Press enter, and then press the check mark. Awesome. Now we're good. You can see if we go down, it's cut out, and then we're good to go. Now we've done the numbers 1, 2, 6, and 5. Now that leaves the top and bottom of the dice. Now, the top is going to be the number 4, and the bottom is going to be the number 3. So 4 is going to be exactly like we did with the number 5, except I'm going to show you how to do it a different way, because I want to make sure that you can do it a different way too, and you know all the different ways that you can do it. So to do that, we're going to go up to the number 4. Perfect. So now this is where the 4 is going to go. So first we're going to start off the same way we do every time, select our sketch, and then we're going to start by making our construction lines. So construction and the line tool, go to the center, and then go to the bottom. And once you get really good, you can just go and you can use L and Q together and just type that on your keyboard. And you don't even have to go. And then to deselect them, instead of going back to deselecting them, you can actually just press L and Q again, and then it'll get rid of them. But I'm just going to deselect them now just to show you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the number 4. So we're going to start with our circle on one side, and then all we're going to do is we're just going to dimension it. So make it the same 0.1 inches in diameter, and then we're going to dimension the center to this side and make that the same 0.15, and then we're going to do the same thing here, 0.15. And then from here it's very simple. We're actually going to use the mirroring technique again, because I find that that's one of the most powerful techniques you can use in Onshape. You'll notice that when you're creating custom parts for robots and different things, that when you're creating something that's either going to be 3D printed or catted out with holes for bolts or screws or anything you're going to use, that you'll notice that you're going to continually use the mirroring technique. So instead of doing the circular pattern tool, we're going to do the mirror technique. So to do the mirror technique again, we're going to select the mirror button. Then we're going to click here on the center line. Then we're going to click on the circle again, and then we're good to go. So then just press the check mark to make sure it goes. Double click on the sketch again, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom. So to mirror again, we're going to select mirror. Then we're going to choose this one, and then we're going to select that one. Then we're going to choose this one, and then it goes down again. And then from there, we're good to go. So then double click again. I like to do that just to make sure that the parts show up, because sometimes if you press enter or escape, they don't always save. So that's the best way to do it, I find, is to press the check mark and then select the sketch again. So awesome. Now this is all dimensioned and it looks perfect. So now we're going to go to extrude. We're going to change the depth to the 0.025 inches again, and then press the check mark. And then as you see, we'll go down. And what did we do this time? Do you notice how we didn't press the cutout button? Yep, you have to be very careful with that, and I want to make sure that everyone remembers to do that. So if you mess up for some reason, it's very common to mess up. Sometimes I even mess up, so don't even worry about it. Press Control Z, or you can even just press these undo arrows or redo arrows. Those are really helpful in CAD. So anyway, to get back to there, we're going to go to the extrude, and then are we going to go to intersect? No. Are we going to go to add? No. New? No. remove, yes. So then we're going to go to remove, 0.025, enter. Then we're going to press the check mark, and we are good to go. Awesome. So now we have one more side to do, and then we're going to do something called a fillet technique, and you'll learn about that soon. So now we're going to go down to the bottom, and remember to go down to the bottom, there's a few different ways to do it. What I'm doing right now is I'm just using my keyboard arrows. So now we are going to work on the last side of the die, the 3. Now the 3 can arguably be the most tricky. And for this one, we're going to use the most amount of sketch relations, which is great because you're going to learn about some new ones. So this time for the 3, 3's on dice are different from any other number because they're drawn diagonally. So to do this, we're going to start off the same way that we always do by clicking sketch and then clicking on the part. And then we're actually going to use our construction lines again, but this time they're not going to be in the shape of a cross vertical and horizontal. We're going to go from diagonal to diagonal. So press escape, L and Q, and then press corner to corner. And then you'll see the center point is still the same, but we're just worried about the diagonals right now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our circles. So we're going to select our circles, and then we're going to find any point on this line. So as long as this line is turned orange as opposed to black, we're going to select it and just put our circle there. That means that it's in a straight line. And then for the center one, we're going to want to make sure that we're exactly in the center. So as you can see, there's an orange box that appears right there by where the cursor is. So once you're on the orange box, click and hold and make your circle. And then the third one can be anywhere as long as it's on that line. Perfect. And don't worry about the size of them because we're going to make them the same very soon. So now what we're going to do is we're going to deselect over here, and then we're going to size out our circles. So this one we're going to make into our same 0.10 inch in diameter, and then we're going to size it out where the rest of them are the same. So now we're going to get rid of the dimension tool, and then we're going to go to the equal button. So the equal button is a sketch relation that we can use. So press the equal button, select this circle, then select the next circle, and then select the next circle. And you'll notice that all of them should change. Perfect. So you'll see that all 3 are now the same size. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the dimension tool, and we're going to dimension from there to there. Now there's a few different types of dimensions we can do. We could do a diagonal, we could do a vertical, or we could do a horizontal from here. So all we're really worried about right now is the vertical, because what happens is we don't really care about the horizontal because we know that in a dice, every single one of these circles goes 0.15 inches from the next one in the vertical direction. And also the horizontal doesn't matter because we're going to be on this diagonal line anyway. So we're just going to change this to 0.15, and then you'll see that it'll automatically adjust the diagonal line. Then we don't have to worry about the horizontal because everything's automatic. And then from here, we could go and dimension this line to this line and make them both 0.15, but instead I'm going to show you how to use the symmetrical tool. The symmetric tool is really helpful. This is because you can take different areas, and as long as you want them to be exactly symmetric, which in this case we do, you can take this line and you can say, let's say I wanted this circle and this circle, we have a distance of 0.15 away from them. If we wanted to copy that distance from here to here, then it would. So this is a very useful tool. So to use the symmetric tool, we're going to select our construction line right here, which divides the 2 sides in half, and then we're going to select each circle. So circle 1, then circle 2, and then you'll notice that the number 3 appears next to my cursor. If you look at the number 3, that shows that there's 3 different objects selected. So if you decide you want to choose this one, the number would change to number 4. This is helpful because if you're going fast, you can make sure that you know how many objects you've selected. And as always, if you want to clear selections, you can select the space. You can click the space bar on your computer keyboard, or you can also just hold down the shift key and deselect whatever you want. but in this case we want the number 3. So now, since we have these 3 selected, so remember we have this line and the 2 circles, we're going to go to the symmetric tool. Just select it and it'll automatically reconfigure it. So this is really helpful because now we know that we have a symmetric die. So now we're going to go to the extrude tool since we're ready for that step. And then do we remember which one to go to? We're going to go to remove. Now we go to depth, we're going to change it to 0.025 just as we always have. Press enter and then we're going to select the check mark. Awesome. Now as you see, our dice is pretty much done. But we're not done yet. If you look at a dice, you'll notice that the edges are not square like these are. So let me go into an isometric style view. You'll see how these are square edges. When you do a dice, it's never square edges. So to fix this, we're going to use something called a fillet. Now a fillet is basically whenever you have a curved edge on any object. You can do this regardless if it's a circle, a square, cube, if it's a rectangular prism, if it's a triangle, whatever shape it is, you can create a fillet. It doesn't matter. So now we're going to create fillets. Like I said, fillets are not that difficult to do. So to create fillets, all we're going to do is we're going to go up here and you'll see there's a fillet tool. Now don't get confused because there's also a chamfer tool. Chamfer is completely different and that's more of a straighter edge. We want to use fillet, so just select the fillet tool and then you'll notice that this window comes up. So for our radius, we want to make sure that it's a slight curve. So basically how this will work is the corners will become curved just like a circle would. So if you look at a cylinder and you looked at a radius of that, you would notice that of a circle, the radius would be 0.2. So we're going to change this to 0.03 because we want this to be very subtle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep this circular because we like it that way and we want it to be circular just like that. And then all we're going to do is we're going to select the edges. So there's one edge and you'll notice that it'll change automatically. So just to show you before I change any other ones, you'll notice how it looks just like a circle on the one side with a radius of 0.03 inches. Now we're just going to do that on every other side. So just select and you'll notice that it'll create a nice even line and it'll automatically do this for us, which is really nice. So just like this, now it's rounded corners. So that's one corner and intersection of this die. Now I'm just going to do the rest of them. So select, select. This can be very tedious depending on how many edges you have. In this case we have quite a few edges, so it will be tedious. And you'll even notice how it doesn't count anymore after 5. So if you look next to my cursor, it'll say 5+. So previously we talked about how it shows the amount of selections. It stops after 5 because we're selecting so many edges. So now if we go over, we'll see this whole side's basically done. Now we just have this last side to do. So one more over there, and one more over there. So I'm just going to go through this object and make sure we got them all because there's so many. And it looks like we did. So now I'm just going to go over here, select the check mark, and then we're good to go. As you can see over here, now we're starting to look pretty good, our dice. This looks exactly like a dice. So your assignment is to create exactly a dice, just like this. Make sure your measurements are the same as the ones given in the tutorial, and that it looks just like this with fillets and everything. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and this will hopefully give you a good, solid foundation for creating parts in CAD. Pretty soon we'll be discussing future stuff such as creating assemblies, animations, and more. But right now, we're going to focus on this and tie it into the engineering design cycle. Please enjoy creating this and have fun with it because CAD can be fun. Have a great day and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye.